Hey folks, Roger Gonzalez here, and I am excited because today's interview is with Gina Ferranti, who's a jewelry designer. She's an entrepreneur. She has a history in fashion, and she's going to talk about how she marketed before the pandemic and now during the pandemic, and give you a really good, strong inside look at her business. Gina, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Roger. Happy to be here and help.
It's my pleasure to have you here, and I thank you. Now, Gina, before we get started, just as a background, tell us a little bit about your business history, how you got into jewelry design, and a little bit about your company today.
Absolutely. So my background was actually in fashion, and I had a store for many, many years. So the whole aspect of my jewelry line is that it does work with today's fashion, whether it's a trend, but most of the pieces go for longevity and they're timeless. So when I first started my business, I closed my store back in 2010, and I wanted to educate myself because my second passion and love was gems and jewelry and diamonds. So I really wanted to really hone in and find out about these fascinating diamonds and gems, where they came from, and how I can incorporate jewelry into my previous career of fashion. So I did graduate GIA Institute, which is the Gemological Institute of America, in 2011. Wow. And I worked in the industry for a while. I worked for David Yurman. I worked for antique jewelry stores, just to get a little bit more of a hands-on education. And right after that, I started to delve into what my collection would look like when it was paired with my background in fashion. So I did go back to GIA, and I took a sketching class because before that, I didn't know how to sketch a stick figure. So I did that. And then after that, I started working on my collection. And basically, you start with a sketch, and you see what stones you want to put, what colorways you want to put in, and you wind up with about 12 to 15 pieces. So you want to have a nice assortment. So you want to have necklaces and rings and bracelets, and you want to be able to market that to women and show them how to wear it.
All right, so you gave me a really good sense of your business, and I love the fact that you say to market to women, because obviously that's your target audience. And you describe the jewelry that you're designing and creating. So I'm assuming it's rings and anything that would have a stone on it. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes, well, my love is diamonds and gemstones, but there are pieces that have no stones, and it just has a rich 14 karat gold metal, and yellow gold happens to be trending. So that's where I kind of stick towards.
Now, tell us the name of your company and how you brand it. Obviously, you've had some experience with other companies like Yurman, that put product out into the marketplace. How is your company different, and how has it evolved in those 10 years? Because you started with brick and mortar, a store, and I assume now you're online, you do phone selling. Tell us how you do that.
I kind of do everything, and I wear many hats. So how am I different? Because there's so many jewelry designers out there. So the name of my company is Design Enterprises NYC Inc. And that is doing business as Gigi Ferranti. And you might say, well, where did I get the name Gigi? It's just my nickname. It's not Gina, it's Gigi. And I did stick with my same last name. I think it has a very nice feeling when people say it. I've had people come up to me and say, well, I just love your name. So that's all positive. The basis of my collection is, and what I love as a designer, is that it's architecturally inspired and it has symmetry and balance. And years ago, jewelry was purchased because of people's economic status. And that's a little bit different today. It has to have a little bit more of a meaning. So let's say my charms. This is my butterfly charm. It's 14 karat gold with diamonds, but it signifies new beginnings and transformation. And I love to wear this, especially when it's a new season coming, like fall, because I feel like good changes are happening, just like a butterfly transforms.
You've given some sort of life to your product, to your creations, and symbolism, which is really nice. You made a very interesting comment about jewelry was worn as a sort of status symbol. So there is, or there has been, a transition as to why people connect with a piece of jewelry, a ring, a necklace that goes beyond that or aside from that. What kind of feedback do you get from your clients along those lines? Like, what do they say? You know, oh my God, this made me feel lucky. This made me feel strong. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yes, I think that some of my pieces, like this is my chevron Gina necklace, and a chevron is an architectural element, which is what my jewelry is. It's architectural, but it has a fuller meaning. So I kind of merge the two. A chevron is the bridge between heaven and earth. And I do feel like some women gravitate towards this because either they have a loved one that's on the other side that's giving them strength and power, or a higher power. And I feel like when they wear it, they feel more secure. Just like an evil eye would in, an evil eye, a horn, or something like that. But also women, I think, that identify with my jewelry. A lot of them are designers themselves. They are architects. They are design, furniture and rooms and that type of aesthetic. And I think that they identify because my jewelry has structure.
That kind of connects with branding, right? So I guess what I'm getting at is, how do you brand that concept? It has to go beyond, putting a product on your website and showing it to people and they buy it because it looks good, which is, I'm sure, how you make a lot of sales, but also that meaning behind it. How do you brand that traditionally, and how has that changed, if at all, with all the things going on today?
Well, I mean, as a designer, I've definitely evolved since when I started about 4.5, 5 years ago. But you brand it by sending the message. And my message is always architecturally inspired, but fuller meaning. So one of my largest collections is my Lucia collection, and I'm going to show you the rings. And these are stackable rings, which are trending right now. Everybody stacks. And that's what my jewelry is about, layering and stacking. But Lucia means light in Italian. And I do bring some of my Italian history into my collections because that's who I am as a designer. And I feel like if women, or even men for that, men come to me and buy things for their spouse or their girlfriends, they have to identify, with the collection. So Lucia means light. And this collection was inspired by stained glass windows and, the architectural elements of a stained glass window, whether it be when I toured Italy in the beautiful churches or anywhere, even in New York. I'll take that concept and I'll just run with it. And so if you look at this, you can kind of see how it mimics, a stained glass window in a church or in a beautiful home. And that's how I get my message across.
So it's a combination of visuals. It's a combination of the product itself. And it's and obviously the name of the piece, right, gives away so much branding opportunity, and also leaves it just vague enough to let it mean something specific to the customer, which I think is brilliant. Let me ask you this: as far as branding the company and branding yourself as a designer, do you think that they come hand in hand? Do you think, do you ever brand yourself in other ways other than selling product, like maybe just talk about what makes a diamond valuable or anything like that? Tell me a little bit about how you're branding yourself as an expert in this field.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of designers out there that use included gemstones or rough gemstones right out of the ground. They have they're not polished, they're not faceted. And that's their niche. So my niche, and the whole reason why I became a gemologist, is because I like the quality. I like the cleaner gemstones. And I'm able to, when I put the stones in the jewelry, that's the type of quality that I use. And that's just something that resonates with me as a designer and what I would like to wear on my body. So when somebody is looking at a ring or purchasing something, and maybe it's a different price than somebody else's, there's always a reason for that. So I do have to educate them on the stones, the clarity, the cut, of the diamonds, even the gemstones. There are certain gemstones that are more commercial, a commercial quality. Let's say a blue sapphire. If a blue sapphire is extremely dark, almost black looking, then that's more of a commercial stone. If it has a beautiful medium saturation with a bright blue, and you don't have any eye inclusions that you can see without a loop, then that's a better quality stone. And even as far as the cut goes, you can see how the cut makes the stone brilliant. So I have to educate my client to why things cost certain prices and what makes my jewelry pop, because I do use splashes of color in my pieces.
Now that presents a challenge, which I want to bring up, and particularly if you're selling not face to face, not on a counter where the person gets to hold it, touch it, feel it, wear it, and decide whether it's for them. But now I imagine you do a lot of selling on the internet, or maybe you sell, through some sort of social media. Describe the challenge in that, because you're asking people to give you, a fair price for an item that could be relatively expensive. How are the challenges there? How do you meet those challenges?
So we do have a very nice exchange return policy, actually. If the customer is not happy with the product and it's not what they thought it was from, let's say, the internet, we will give them their money back. But I also, and this is something that I've been doing recently, is I've been doing a lot of videos on social media. So just like you're seeing this now and you're seeing it move, you're seeing it, instead of just a plain product, I think the videos help with seeing the brilliance of the stones and maybe the thickness of the metal. It's not tinny, it has weight to it. So I think that is very important, because yes, we're not selling t-shirts. We're selling, precious metals, diamonds and gems. So I think having a nice exchange return policy definitely helps.
Now, I imagine you have a website and you have various products on this web. Tell us about your e-commerce, and then kind of jump into how it connects with your social media, because I imagine you have a strong social media presence or a strategy along those lines. Tell us about that.
Everything goes hand in hand. So whether it's on the website or on my social media, or I'm sending an email blast, they all have to tell the same message. And that's very important. And I do have, people help me with writing and stuff, because that's not my expertise, just to make sure that I dot my I's and cross my T's.
Right.
So yes, the message has to be the same. And although a lot of products that are on my website are made to order, there'll be a section that'll say, in stock and available. So I have to mimic that when I present it on my social media.
Gotcha.
I use all the same images, and I try to put the jewelry on a model, whether it's myself or someone else, just to show that it is being worn. And that's the same message across the board on my website.
That's phenomenal. And that brings us to, I guess, that pivoting that we were talking about. I always make fun of the word because it seems like it's everywhere, and I can't help but use it. So you pivot, right? All of a sudden you have a recession. All of a sudden you have, social upheaval, and obviously you have the pandemic. Has your business changed tremendously, or even slightly, from what you were doing before to what you're doing now? And can you describe some of those changes?
Sure. It absolutely has pivoted and changed. So prior to COVID, I was actually getting ready to do a trade show that was going to happen in August in Vegas. So what drove my business prior to COVID was trade shows and showing up in person and doing trunk shows.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's in actual stores where I have my jewelry or in stores that don't have my jewelry yet, just to test the market. So that was, it was easy. I would show up. I would even show up and make appointments with jewelry stores to show them the jewelry, not on camera or not just for the store owners. And that all has changed. So that all has moved to, like we're doing now, the Zooms. All my trunk shows got canceled. I have to target more directly to consumer because I can do that myself. But I also am having like a traveling, I'll be launching a new collection, Roger, at the end of September.
Great.
It's called Portofino. And I'm putting together all the pieces and I'm going to send Portofino traveling, whether it's my store in Michigan or my store in New Hampshire. And the store owner will get a package with the jewelry that they can touch, feel. And while they have it, we'll schedule a Zoom. This way we can talk about the collection.
Wow.
And we can discuss if they'd like to make a purchase right before the holidays. And so, you have to spend a little bit more money on shipping and stuff, but you don't have the expense of the trade show, and hopefully that will bring sales in as well. So it has been challenging.
It does, but you save on travel and, otherwise, although, sometimes travel is fun, but it is expensive. So there are some benefits to doing it that way that maybe we didn't think about. Did you ever use Zoom before all this happened?
I never did, no.
I didn't either.
Never
It's
did.
amazing, right?
Absolutely.
So, that's just a sign of how things can change so dramatically over a short period of time. Everyone keeps talking about this new normal, particularly in retail and in design and fashion. And part of it is affected by the fact that, maybe now we don't go out as much as we used to, and we don't know when we will be able to. We don't travel as much. Maybe we don't have to, wear certain things that we did before. I have a suit. I was going to go to a wedding. I think I mentioned this in one of my other interviews, and the suit is still in the package in my closet. I tried it on once. I was going to go to the tailor and fix the cuffs, and I never even looked at the suit again. I don't even remember the color. I think it's black. It's crazy, right? How does that factor into what you're seeing as a short-term plan shortly after COVID starts to go away, and maybe even, a little bit longer into that? Will you keep the Zoom? Will you keep some of those things that you're incorporating into your business plan?
Well, I think it's important. When COVID first started, I think, everyone was in their pajamas or in their sweatpants.
Yeah.
And, it was important to send the message as a designer that just because you're in your house, you can get dressed up, you can put a nice pair of jeans and a blouse on, and, do your hair and make yourself feel, beautiful as a woman. The salons weren't open yet. Now, thank God, we can go out and get our hair done. But I think it's important to send that message and just be positive. There are a lot of, people fall into depression and stuff like that. So jewelry makes you feel good, makes you feel happy. Like I said before, it has meaning. And I think that it's important to show it being worn. And I think moving forward, I think holiday is going to be a good one, because I feel like people are, they're tired of, doing without. People haven't traveled, and I think they are going to spend their money on luxury goods, whether it's jewelry or, a nice handbag or a nice pair of shoes, because I feel like, they've deprived themselves for a little bit.
I love that answer, and particularly because one of the things that Tony Robbins talks about is that we buy emotionally. You know, we buy to feel better. There's that little scene in Mad Men that I always show my class where uh, you know, they talk about what is advertising. Advertising is happiness. You know, people buy into that. And I think we need that more than ever. One last question for your plan for the holidays, because I'm so glad you mentioned that too. Um, how far ahead are you planning for this, and what strategies, without giving anything, you know, proprietary away, what strategies are you thinking of incorporating for this holiday season?
Well, at this point, I have all the titles of my email blasts, and I will be doing one each month now through December. So we'll go from, like I said, I'm launching my new collection called Portofino, and it'll start at the end of September with introducing Portofino, not only to my clients, but I have a whole press list. So the press release will go out, hopefully get picked up from trade magazines, and one step will lead to another. I mean, I might even get an interview maybe on social media with a blogger or somebody that wants to learn a little bit more about the new collection. And it couldn't have come at a perfect time because it's all about the candy-colored buildings of Portofino and the blue waters in the ocean. And I have to just show you the pieces because they are colorful.
Oh, lovely.
And they're colorful. And if this doesn't make you happy, I don't know what
Great.
I swear to God.
That is a very happy piece of art. I mean, it is art. One last thing, because I think it's important to young people out there who are planning. I have a lot of students who want to be designers, who want to be in the fashion industry, and a lot who are concerned about what's going on today with this thought, like, where am I going after all this? What advice would you give those young people who are looking to get into a business similar to yours, or even get into the jewelry business?
Okay, so first of all, educate yourself. You know, whether it's, you know, learning about the stones, or if you want to be a bench jeweler, educate yourself. The second thing is, if you are going to start a collection or a business, to start very slow. I made a lot of mistakes. The mistakes that I made is I wanted to be an overnight success. And you know what? That doesn't exist. Success comes one tick at a time, okay? Climbing up the mountain, one step at a time. You have to make mistakes because that's how you learn. When I first started, I made 4 collections very, very quickly. And I should have honed in and just did 1 collection, got some exposure, see how people reacted to it, and I didn't do that. So that's probably my number 1 advice for anyone who's starting any business. Start out slow, get the reaction, and adjust as you go along.
Gina, I can't thank you enough for such good words of wisdom and knowledge. You know, I wish you a wonderful next few months. It looks like you're doing something that Seth Godin talks about, and that is caring about your customer, connecting with your customer, and bringing some sort of change and happiness to their lives. And I commend you for that, because it seems to be placed in the right place and time right now as far as your marketing and your business. So thank you very much. I can't wait till my students see this.
And thank you so much for having me. And I'm open to any questions if anybody wants to reach out to me. Tell them to feel free to email me. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. I will put the information, folks, on the bottom. You're probably looking at it right now, so you can have her email and the name of her company and Gina's name. Gina, thank you, and take care.
Take care now.